Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for another exciting CLIA Global Cruise Line webinar to explore the world of luxury small ship cruising with Scenic and Emerald Cruises. My name is Johanna de Guzman. I am the Manager of Industry Relations for North American Travel Trade Membership here at CLIA, and I'm going to quickly go through some housekeeping before introducing our presenter. Please feel free to type your questions into the questions module of the webinar, and Ian and Margaret from the Scenic Group team will be answering your questions as they are submitted. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on CLIA's YouTube channel, CLIA Global. It is my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Richard Bravo. Richard has an impressive and diverse background in the travel industry with experience ranging from frontline travel advisor roles to management and business development. His journey includes significant roles at Auto Club of Southern California, Luxury Link Travel Group, Rocky Mountaineer, AMA Waterways, and now Scenic Group as a regional sales director for the West. Additionally, he and his wife have started their own side business, Bravo Trade Company, which adds to his extensive expertise. It's clear that his passion for travel and commitment to the industry have shaped a successful and varied career. And with that, the floor is yours, Richard.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you so much also for this opportunity to present and delve a little bit deeper into one of our specific products and a couple of destinations. I know that my colleague Derek Struther last month had a chance to do a really great presentation kind of highlighting our entire portfolio. But again, today we're going to focus a little bit more on our scenic river experience, specifically in the waterways of France. But just for level set, because I know that there are still some questions regarding our product, I'd love to say that we are a household name. Well, that's not necessarily the case. I can tell you with absolute confidence that the ship is turning around, pun intended, because there's definitely a lot more buzz about our products, Scenic and Emerald, for both river and, of course, the ocean yacht experience. So glad that you're able to join and learn a little bit more. You know, our story started, about 38 years ago. Our founder, Glenn Maroney, and his wife right here, they started this out of Newcastle, Australia. They started running tours, motor coach tours, down to the southern part of Australia, the old ocean road. Some beautiful scenery down there. They did that for a number of years and then realized that there was really an opportunity with river cruising. River cruising was starting to really grow. And under the Scenic Group name, there are two brands. We have our Scenic name, Scenic brand, and then we have our Emerald brand. So each of them has a river cruise component, Scenic and Emerald, and each has an ocean yacht component. But it was in about 2006, 2008 timeframe that they started adding ships to the European waterways under the Scenic brand. Then in 2013, late 2013, 2014, under the Emerald brand, that they started adding river cruise ships. They've now expanded, of course, to our ocean yachts. Our first ocean yacht under the Scenic brand was built in 2019, and then the second ship, Scenic Eclipse 2, 2023, so very recent. And then our Emerald yachts, respectively, between the Azura and Sakura, 2022, 2023, and we've got a new one that is being built and will be entering in April of 2026. So we continue to grow. A quick look at our overall ships on the Scenic side. So again, I just mentioned Scenic Eclipse 1, Scenic Eclipse 2, two beautiful ships. The really nice thing is that these ocean yacht vessels are very, very intimate. They were built for expedition, hold a maximum of 228 passengers in the non-polar regions, because though they were built for expedition, they sail the globe. In the polar region, 200 guest maximum. Just all the bells and whistles you could possibly imagine. And I say this with confidence that at this point in time, we're pretty unrivaled. There's a number of other wonderful competitors that are hitting the marks, but I would say that we are hitting a few addition to them just based on the newness of the ship and the way that it was constructed. So beautiful, beautiful product there. And then, of course, our river cruise ships. So we have a total of 12 that are sailing Europe, and then we have a 13th, the Scenic Spirit, that's actually sailing in Southeast Asia. So with the 12 ships in Europe, we're hitting all the main waterways. In France, of course, we're doing the Seine, we're doing Bordeaux, we're doing Burgundy and Provence, we're down on the Douro River, and then all the other larger waterways, Rhine, Main, Danube, we're doing the Belgian and Dutch waterways, the Moselle River. So plenty of itineraries to choose from for all those different regions, and some great things to consider as well. From culinary, we've got our Christmas markets, and of course wine being a really big part of pretty much any river cruise experience. We've won a number of awards that we're very proud of. So with the 2 Discovery yachts visiting more than 500 destinations across a number of different countries, couple that with our river cruise experience, and then just getting some great awards for some really trusted voices in the industry, being recognized for things like best cruise line, the culinary innovation, so you can know that your guests are going to be very well taken care of. And in terms of what our core audience looks like, a few things to touch on. 75% couples, no children, 55% plus would be the core segment, representing about 94% in total. Females specifically are skewed at right about 60%. So again, some of the single women travelers or the girlfriend travel experience. Very high loyalty and retention ratio here. Guests that are really looking to kind of expand their luxury travel portfolios. So maybe they've done luxury ocean cruising and luxury land products, and or maybe just trying river cruising. Those are some of the folks that we're attracting with our Scenic river cruise experience. The other part that I like to mention, I think most of you would know this, especially those that have been in the industry for some time. While all these things are really, really important, they help you with the marketing and certainly some of your conversations. I think a really big part of it is as you're counseling your guests, and if you identify that we offer those things on board that they tend to like, while at home or traveling in other locations, those things kind of go beyond and above, all the stats that we're looking at right here. So if they enjoy some good wine, they just like discovering, having good conversation, learning history and all those things, it really kind of spans the group. So even 20-year-olds up to those retired guests that we're currently working with. Scenic is an all-inclusive experience also. So from the, let me get to the right slide here. It's having trouble advancing. So again, really all-inclusive experience. So from the luxury suites, we also offer butler service, up to 5 dining options. I'll delve a little bit more into that as I move through. Some great shore excursions to choose from. These are all inclusive, and that includes our Scenic enrichment programs, which are just an elevated experience. Some really, really wonderful things there. Premium beverages, and I love that we use the word premium because they truly are premium. These are not just going to be like your over-the-counter basic house wines that are going to be served. These are going to be really nice premium regional wines, regional beers on some of the areas that we go through that are going to be included for our guests. There's a very, very, very small selection of our chairman selection, which are going to be some like extra nice drinks that there would be an extra nominal charge, but otherwise you've got pages and pages of different drinks to choose from. The Salt Therapy Lounge, which we see there in the bottom left corner. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I love that experience. Complimentary Wi-Fi. All the gratuities are included, and it should be noted that it's not just for the crew on board, but also those folks that are doing the offshore tour guides that are taking you out as well. And we also include round-trip airport transfers, of course, provided that certain things line up, but that is also something that we do complimentary. I'm going to start with the dining experience because it really is a big part of it, the overall culinary experience. And I'll say that there's up to 5 dining experiences. And when we're talking specifically about the French waterways, I'm going to throw out that there's an even 6th element to look at. So from the main dining, of course, and our main dining room where you're going to have breakfast, lunch, dinner being served, that would be the Crystal Dining Room. All your drinks are included there. If you want mimosas for breakfast, we can throw that in as well. There's also an in-room dining experience too. So if you want breakfast brought in, or maybe you've been on shore tours all day, you're tired, you missed dinner, now it's 11 o'clock at night and you're feeling like a burger and beer, we can get that for you as well up until midnight. We've got a river cafe experience, which is it's basically a food station that you can go and grab something pretty much any time on board the ship. So if you get up really early, like I tend to, and you want to go grab a Danish or a croissant, you can do that. Stop at the little coffee station on the way out, grab yourself a cappuccino if you want a light sandwich and salad in the afternoon, or even snacks like peanuts and gummy bears. You can pick that up as well. Separately, we also have portobellos. Italian dining in all of our non-French waterway destinations. And then, of course, when we're sailing in France, we're offering French foods. So that would be a little more, but this is a more intimate, alternative dining experience. Holds up to 36 guests. Some really nice wines that are served with this. This might be an evening that you want to get a little more dressed up, and all the guests have a chance to experience this. You can make your reservation for the date that you like once you get on board. The up to five would be in Table de Rive or Table d'Or. Again, if you're in those French waterways, this is going to be invitation only. So you cannot reach out to your RSD to say, hey, Derek or Richard, can you get me on this nice dinner? This is going to be for those guests that are typically sailing on our Diamond Deck level, or maybe for guests that have sailed with us a number of times that get this special invitation. And it really is a special invitation up to 10 guests that get to dine. We do it about 4 nights on the cruise. It's a 7-course meal, extra amazing wines. The presentation is phenomenal. It's a nearly 3-hour dining experience, and it's just really, really wonderful. The sixth one, and I'll mention this a little bit later, but I'll throw out the name. This is our Scenic Culinaire that we offer for our French waterways, but we'll get into that just a little bit later in this presentation. In terms of the, some of the areas where we stack up to our competitors, up to 163 guests maximum compared to an average with a number of our other competitors up to 196 ratio of guests to crew, 2.9 to 1. So just barely edging out some of the other folks in the industry, but we'll go ahead and make note of that because it is a slight improvement there. The Salt Therapy Lounge, again, just to kind of talk on that really quick, this is just an amazing experience that's included. If you've never been to Salt Therapy Lounge, you'll want to enjoy that because I've got allergies and it really does kind of help with your overall respiratory. We talked about the gratuities, transfers. If you want to get a massage, we've got that on board. Ladies, if you want to get your hair done before a nice dinner, you can do that also. And again, all the shore tours are included for all of our guests. Looking at some of the suites, this would be a look at one of the suites on our Diamond Deck area. So starting from 205 square feet, they go up to 225 square feet. Just beautiful, appointed staterooms. You'll notice also that balcony area off to the back there. So it's not your typical full step out balcony because you can really kind of set this where you see that panorama window. You can hit a button that lowers, you get this French balcony feel from within your stateroom. And you've got these glass doors just up to where it butts up against the bedroom that are these folding glass doors that you can either open or close, of course, too, but you kind of have that space within your stateroom. Our Royal Suites now jumping up here, located midship on our boats, 305 square feet to 520 square feet, depending on the size of the ship. These are opulent staterooms, very spacious. You have a full sitting area, separate little bar area, this nice walk-through bathroom, this full sit-in tub, a walk-in closet. The beds, of course, these beautiful slumber beds, queen size, that each of them has a remote on either side. You can raise your back, raise your feet. And then, of course, you have the nice sun lounge area to take in those nice views. Hit that button, lower that. You get that French balcony feel from within your room. And then, of course, a number of staterooms that are located within that space. In terms of where we actually go, we talked a little bit about this too, but just looking at the map, you can see everywhere from Douro, all the main waterways that we talked about, upper and lower Danube. And there's a number of combinations that you can put together that I'll speak to a little bit later in the presentation. For this one, however, wanted to focus on 2 specific destinations in France, beginning with Bordeaux. So we have our Bordeaux Affair. We have beautiful Bordeaux. Bordeaux Affair is 8 days. That's one that I actually had the privilege of doing recently, and beautiful Bordeaux, 11 days. They're all basically hitting the same ports of call throughout the journey. Some of them you just get a little bit longer time to spend in different places. So because of that, there's maybe some additional shore tours that you can take advantage, but essentially hitting all the same ports of call. This right here is a beautiful picture of the Miroir d'eau, or water mirror. This beautiful reflecting pool covers an area of 37,000 square feet. Very, very, just beautiful to walk by. Built in 2006, and it's located in front of the Place de la Bourse. And so this reflecting pool is actually made with these huge granite slabs, and then layered with like barely about 2 centimeters of water. But what's really cool is that they've built in this system that creates this mist that comes up every 15 minutes. So especially when it's, kind of near dusk and the sun's about to set, and you see that, and you got the palace lit up behind it. It's really, really beautiful area. A hot summer day, you'll see a number of families and kids and just couples out there enjoying, taking off their shoes and getting their feet wet and just kind of hanging out and walking through. So it's a really fun place to hang out. Now, behind the palace that we're looking at here, you're going to find some really great shopping also. Lots of shops, lots of cafes, some great restaurants. And then, of course, if you haven't heard of, there's a famous shopping of Rue Sainte Catherine. So it's this basically the street that's got some really great high-end and a number of mid-range clothing and retail shops. So lots of great shopping that you can do here. But I will point out this one thing that I had encountered too. If you're looking for just like some, just the, little souvenirs you might bring home for the kids or grandkids and things like that, you're not going to find those too easily. It is more of just like regular shops and things, but still just a fantastic experience. Here's a look specifically at the map of where we travel on this sailing. When you think of Bordeaux, if you're like me or if you even begin to appreciate wine, I mean, wine is the first thing that I think just really jumps forward. I mean, this is a famous wine region. There's a number of what they call Grand Cru Classé designated wine estates in this region, throughout France, but primarily Bordeaux. And this is a classification that dates back to like 1855 by Napoleon the Third, and it really signifies basically a high level of quality and really prestige and established wines that have, these families that have been doing this for a number of years. It takes into account the appellation areas, the terrain, and all these things. So some really great wines that you're going to be able to experience here. What I would say about this particular cruise, and I've had a chance to sail a number of rivers in Europe, and they are all spectacular. So this next comment in no way diminishes other cruises that I've done. This one, though, stands out as my favorite. When you're on some of the other waterways, maybe because there's so much to see, you kind of feel like you don't want to miss out. So you're like going, going, going. And with this one, I felt like there was just a really perfect balance of going out, exploring, feeling that I got my fill. I was able to see some things. I had some free time to walk around, but maybe even some time to rest. The way this cruise is set up also, because everything is so close, we can get to the next port of call really quick. So you'll actually experience a number of days doing daylight cruising. You don't get that on some of the other rivers because you're doing a lot of the cruising overnight. So that was really cool, just to sit back in the stateroom, lower that French balcony window, and just take in the scenery. But you also get a lot of overnights. In fact, every single night we overnighted in port. We weren't doing any sailing overnight. So you get time to go into town, maybe explore, or join find a nice restaurant in town as well. So when we welcome you aboard, in this case, Sailing Bordeaux, it's a Scenic Diamond that is sailing there, and it's actually the sister ship of the Scenic Sapphire, which does the Rhone and the Saône River too. Holds a maximum of 149 guests, 63 crew members. And while the ship was built in 2008, it was most recently refurbished in 2017. When you step on board any one of our vessels, something that may stand out to you, or I'd certainly like to point it out to you, is that we're not going to take a credit card from you when you get on board. That's because it's all inclusive. We include all the gratuities and things. The only thing that you will be charged for will be at the end if you pick up something from our small gift shop, or maybe got a massage or something like that. But otherwise, we don't even take a credit card. Our friendly crew will greet you. They'll get you checked in, show you your stateroom, carry your luggage in for you, point out where a few of the different things are. If there's something you want stocked in your mini bar, maybe you want, Coke Zero or orange juice each day. They're going to take care of those type of things for you as well too. So that's what your intro to stepping on board one of our vessels is going to be like. And of course, being in Bordeaux, the first night you're going to be overnighting in the town of Bordeaux. Lots to see. Easy walking town. I mean, it's not a super small town, but it really is pretty easy to walk around, find a place to rest. For example, if you look down here at the lower right, that's actually the Jardin Botanique de Bordeaux. So this really beautiful botanical garden dates back all the way to the early 17th century, 1629 to be specific. And it was, just a great place to walk around. Plays a pretty nice part in Bordeaux's history, just with like plant exploration, scientific advancements around horticulture and things like that really started at this particular garden. And there's two areas that have like what they call the old garden, the new garden, but together they both encompass a space of about 28 acres, so really quite large. We do offer a bicycle tour that's going to pass through here also, so you'll get some time to explore there. I didn't do the bicycle tour, but I just had a chance to venture out, and just really great. Some bridges, and there's a little waterways. There's a little boat that you can hop on. Just a great place to kind of hang out. A really good place I'd suggest even for a picnic maybe. Up on top, we have St. Andrew Cathedral of Bordeaux. This, beautiful, beautiful Gothic masterpiece. If you've been to Europe, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This dates back to the 12th century, and then with some additional ongoing things that they added on as late as like 14th and even the 16th century. But one thing that's really kind of cool about this place that makes it pretty famous is that they had a royal wedding here, and it was Eleanor of Aquitaine and Louis the Seventh of France. They got married here back in 1137. Now, Eleanor and Louis stated they were lived in a pretty unhappy marriage. They produced two children, two girls. They did have their marriage annulled in after 15 years on the grounds of what they call consanguinity. I can't pronounce this properly. Consanguinity. So basically, being too closely related. They got divorced, and just 2 months after that, Eleanor married Henry II of England, who later became 2 years after that King of England. They bore 18 children together, two of those being future kings, Richard the Lionheart, who fought in the Holy Wars, and also John of England. So just a lot of history. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site also, so a really nice place to visit. Let's see what we have next here. Stopping in Libourne. This is just a really beautiful town. It's a historical town. It's located at the confluence of the Dordogne and the Isle rivers, and just based on its position, made it a really key trading post for goods, especially wine, of course. Particularly famous for being near the wine appellations of Saint-Emilion, Pomerol. I think we've all heard of those. Fronsac. These are regions that really produce some of the most sought after wines in the world. So there's going to be some wine tours, of course, but I would encourage you just to walk around. This is really a small town. When I was there, and again, you may know this if you've traveled to France in particular, on a Sunday or on a Monday, you're going to find a lot of the regular shops closed up or maybe open for very abbreviated hours. So I happened to be there on a Monday, didn't get a chance to experience too much of the shopping, but some really great restaurants, beautiful architecture, so certainly worth the visit. And from here, we launched a number of different short tours also to different areas, Saint-Emilion being one of those. So again, talking about some of the best wines around the world, this very small appellation area produces just that. So I was able to pick me up some really nice bottles. Also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, starting from 1999, and it really just recognizing the cultural landscape, the historical significance, the center's old traditions, the viticulture and the preservation of the medieval town. They also have Europe's largest monolithic church, and that is the Église Monolith. This dates back to the 12th century, but again, some very ornate Gothic architecture, and really just kind of showcases the town's deep religious, if you will, and architectural history. We've also making a stop in this particular one. This is a place, just to give an idea what some of the short tours look like. Had a chance to stop here at the Chateau Syriac. And this is just a really beautiful chateau where we got just some great commentary, some great education on the wine producing. We got to walk to their cellars. And of course, we got to taste some of the different wines also. This is located in the Pomerol appellation, and they're really specifically known for their Merlots and their Cab Francs. They will blend very, very, very small percentages of some other red wines that qualify for being called a Bordeaux wine also. And this particular chateau also dates back to the early 1800s. So you're going to just find a lot of things that are deeply rooted, in family history and things like that. And it's great to just be able to experience this type of stuff firsthand. Blythe, another really beautiful town, Roman settlement, really kind of known for this beautiful citadel that they have here. This dates back to the 17th century also. They had built it primarily starting from like the 100 Years' War, and this kind of added on to some things after that. Not a ton to see here, quite frankly, which is why it's worth the visit. We stop here. There's a tour that we offer to visit the Citadel, to walk around the very, very, very small town and look at some of the different shops and things. But we kind of allow just enough time to experience it, and then we're actually going to move on most likely to another port of call this day also. But if you have a beautiful town and worth the visit, a lot of history tied to this, that's also UNESCO World Heritage Site. And then another stop along the way is in Fort Medoc. And this is where we offer one of our scenic enrichment programs. This really, really is a wonderful experience. So this is something that's exclusive for our guests. So this particular evening, all of the guests are invited to join us. We're going to transfer them over to the Chateau d'Aguessac. As you walk out, if you see that picture to the left right there, you see that nice wide rock walkway. As you're walking up there, there's going to be some table set with some champagne and some wines already there. You get to enjoy that. You get to kind of walk around the gardens, beautifully manicured gardens, and then you get to walk over the moat and access that first floor of the chateau. Take some great pictures, enjoy a glass of wine inside, have some conversation. After about 45 minutes to an hour, they're then going to take you into the separate building where you're going to witness this beautiful quartet playing some wonderful classical music. It is just magnificent. I could tell you that just some of the different songs, you really find yourself getting caught up in it and get a little choked up. But it's an amazing experience. And this tends to be one of those things where guests talk about it up until the last day of the cruise. So really, really special. And this is something we do exclusive for our guests. So while some other river cruise lines may do this, not all of them offer it as an exclusive opportunity for their guests on board. The Cadillac sur Garonne, this is another place that we stopped that again, I took in, I enjoy my wines. I wouldn't say I'm a wine connoisseur. I don't understand them all that well, but I know what I like and I do appreciate wine. So signed up for as many of them as I could, but there's some other things to do also. We have cycling tours. There's the walking tours that I mentioned also. And if, you find that you've just been maybe hitting all the short tours a little hard and you kind of want to do it at your own pace, that is always an option as well. One of the things, though, that we did, I mentioned we have our Scenic Culinaire. So that was really special because you have to sign up, by the way, once you get on board the ship. It's not an excursion. You can sign up beforehand. We do about 4 different classes on our French waterways over the course of a cruise. And there's only about 10 guests at a time that can sign up for this. But it's basically witnessing the chef as he's preparing these different meals. So you sit behind the station. It's highly interactive. You're drinking a glass of wine. He's conversing with you. He may bring somebody back to help him finish up the dish that he's making. And then, of course, you get to taste that dish for that also. One particular day, they actually couple that with the shopping with the chef. So that's what we're looking at right here. So you get to go out with the chef that morning. This is in Bordeaux. And you get to, again, see his interaction with all the different folks selling produce and different poultries and things like that. Get to sample some things along the way, but then he's going to pick up some things that you then get to take back later that evening and prepare it at the Scenic Culinaire class, and again, get to prepare that too. So here's a look at what the Scenic Culinaire class actually looks like. There's a camera over top. There's a large screen behind, so you get to see really close hand what that looks like. And it was one of my favorite experiences on the trip. So I would definitely recommend that. Some other things that I would recommend here also, just to go out and do some exploring. While we don't offer a tour that goes here specifically, you have a chance to go to the Cité du Vin. So this is actually the wine museum that we're looking at there to the left specifically. The image to the right is not that, so I apologize, I didn't title that. But off to the left is Cité du Vin. It's the Bordeaux Wine Museum. You could easily spend several hours here. I spent 2 hours here. That is a lot to see. It's highly interactive. They have different English listening headsets that you can put on, and you walk into the room, you tap a QR code, and you can hear all these different things. So from wine history, specific to the region, specific on different wines, to wines around the world. There's just a lot that you can listen and learn from. So it's really great. Off to the right here, you'll forgive me, I'm not remembering the name of this particular location, but this is actually this beautiful, like, lit up art museum that you get to go to, and it's these old submarine military bases that the Germans had actually built that's now being repurposed for this opportunity too. So that's something that you could look to do. It's not too far from where we dock, maybe a brisk 15, 20-minute walk really, but otherwise you can do an Uber to get there also. This right here, I just want to show you. So the picture to the left is actually looking at the wine cellar inside of the Bordeaux Wine Museum. But then just want to talk about a few different things too, because wine plays such a big part, not just in France, but in Bordeaux in particular. I would say the map off to the right shows all the different appellation regions that are really known for the different types of terrain and weather patterns, and how all these things make up the different wines specific to those locations. I mean, there are strict rules that are written around these different things that if you don't meet them, then you can't be given the title of having a certain appellation wine or a certain Bordeaux wine. But the red wines in particular that make up a red Bordeaux, or is what we're looking at right here. So Merlots make up 66% of that, Cabs 22%, Cab Francs 9%, and then a much smaller level, but portions of it, you got your Petit Bordeaux, Malbecs, and your Cabernet also. Same thing with the white varietals too. So from the Semillons at 53%, Sauvignon Blancs 36%, and then a much smaller portion, the Muscadel, 7 to 9%. A true Bordeaux wine adheres to several key factors, kind of like I mentioned. So legally being defined within the Bordeaux region, authorized grape varietals, blends of 2 or more grape varieties. So it's always going to be a blend. You're never going to have like a straight, Cab Franc, a straight Petit Bordeaux. It's always going to be a blend of some sort. Specific production methods, aging requirements. On the aging requirements also, the reason you're going to find a lot of wines that are dated, when you go in these different wine shops, because and this is a general statement, but on average, you're looking at about a 10-year resting period for those wines to really be at their best. So you'll find a lot of wines that have been aging for a number of years already. That's not required of all of them. There's some, newer wines that you can taste also, but that's just something to keep in mind as well. The labeling, classification, so all these things and much, much more just makes this, a really exciting place to go and visit and learn about all these different things. So moving on now to the Rhone and actually the Saône River also. We call this idyllic Rhone. This is an 8-day traveling from Arles up to Lyon. Although you are going to most likely fly into Nice or into Marseille. So those are really nice towns also. Marseille is where I've selected to fly into. Beautiful town right there in the harbor, great town to walk around, explore, some beautiful cathedrals, great seafood that you're going to want to enjoy here also. And then just a tip, if you're not aware of this, if you do start your trip here on the southern end versus on the northern end up on Chalon-sur-Saône, there's a really easy train that you can catch. It's maybe a 45-minute ride over into Arles, and you can literally take your luggage and walk about 2 blocks and then board the ship from there too. So very, very easy access, but a great itinerary, great places to stand here. One of the highlights, of course, will be Lyon, one just because it's one of the larger cities, but also, again, if you're into that culinary experience, you're going to find some great places to dine here also. Now, the ship that you'll be boarding to do the Saône, Rhone, Burgundy, Provence here is going to be the Scenic Sapphire. So pretty much everything we looked at on board the Scenic Diamond. This ship was built just a year later in 2009 versus 2008, but it's also been refurbished as recently as 2017. This just happens to be a look at one of the places where you can board also Nice, just, known for its beautiful architecture right there in the harbor as well, great restaurants. So I would encourage you, not just the fact that you're flying far and you want to kind of get caught up on that jet lag before you board the ship immediately, because you will most likely kind of miss out on some things just from being a little bit tired and exhausted from the travel. Definitely consider doing at minimum, 1 to a couple of pre-nights, not just to get caught up, but hopefully enjoy the area outside of just being on the cruise as well. This right here in Arles, this is just a great town. If you're thinking of people like Van Gogh, this is where he spent a couple years of his life. Highly influenced by the early Romans. So on the lower right, we're actually looking at the Arles Colosseum, pretty much a mimic of the larger Roman Colosseum, but I think it's even slightly older, certainly much smaller. There's some tours that go in here also. You see that I took this picture. These are my personal pictures, but this picture on the lower right here also was taken in the evening. That was one of my favorite moments too. So when we boarded the ship that particular day, it was already a little bit later in the day. We had dinner on board the ship, and well, it's a really quiet town. We just thought, let's go out and just kind of walk around the town. And it really felt like kind of being on the set of a movie, from the standpoint that, like, so many of those things that you see in the movies, if you're in an old French town, kind of walking the streets at night where there's not a lot going on. There's a few passerbys every now and then as you go down some of the different blocks. And then from around a corner, you'll hear laughter and conversation. And you turn that corner, and down half a block, you see this one little area that's completely lit up, and people just sitting around enjoying dinner, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, enjoying some wine and good conversation. And you'll run into different little moments like that. So that was kind of cool to see. Up at the top right is actually the location where Van Gogh painted his Starry Night. So kind of being able to stand in, literally in the footsteps of where Van Gogh stood to see that. And there's a really easy walking tour that you can join. That or you can even do on your own that's got all these different placards like you see there in the lower right of that top picture, where you can just kind of follow around and kind of trace some of the different areas where there were things significant to Van Gogh. And then just beautiful restaurants and cafes that you'll see here. You'll see a lot of the vines and trees growing up along this old architecture. Beautiful, fun place to visit. This right here happens to be one of the paintings that we got to witness at the Van Gogh Museum. To note about the museum is that a lot of the different images or different artwork from Van Gogh will pass through because it's being loaned to different museums, so you never know quite what you're going to see. Had a chance to witness 4 different pieces from Van Gogh when we stopped here, and then of course they got other artists, current and past, and a great gift shop also. So definitely worth a stop if you get some time here. And then Avignon, great city, beautiful city, the old walled city, Palace of the Popes. And I don't know that a lot of people are fully aware of that. This place served as home to the papacy for a number of years. I don't recall what those exact years were, but it was for a number of years. If I'm recalling correctly, I think there were up to 7 popes that were coronated here in Avignon. And the period is kind of known as the Great Schism, where there were actually kind of 2 dueling popes, if you will, one in Rome, one here in France for a period of time before they kind of settled that matter. But there's a chance to visit the Palace of the Popes here. In fact, we really do a wonderful scenic enrichment program also, beautiful architecture, but the town alone, you can get lost in this town, wander all the different streets. There's some big areas, with like these big courtyards, lots of restaurants. Something my wife and I really enjoyed, and probably one of the most memorable, some of the simple times that really kind of stand out the most, was just enjoying some conversation over a couple of glasses of wine and just people watching for a couple of hours. So great place to hang out and walk around. And I mentioned the Scenic Enrichment Program. Here at the Palace of the Popes, we basically take the space of one of those great halls. We bring in exclusively for our guests another opportunity to witness a beautiful classic concert, some nice wine that is going to be served with this. This happens to be a photo that my colleague Derek Struther shared because he recently got to go and do this, and I wanted to show you here too. But again, fun experience, something memorable. The town of Viviers is another really great place to stop. I didn't get a chance to experience this particular town too much. I opted to do a short tour that took us out to do some nice wine tasting. There was actually truffle tasting that we got to do, but a beautiful town, lots of history, the old cobblestone streets, easy to walk around. There's also some bike tours that are offered from here, so lots of different choices to consider. The town of Vienne, another really fantastic town, a lot of Roman history and architecture here also. You'll see that in the lower right picture that we're looking at. I forget the name of this particular structure, but it was actually very close to here that Thomas Jefferson, in one of his visits to France, went and spent some time in this particular town also. In fact, there's a building there that's got a placard commemorating Thomas Jefferson spending some time there. You have this beautiful cathedral up to the top right also. One of the tours that I had joined, I actually ended up leaving just a little bit early because I found out that they were offering Mass, and I thought it'd be really cool to go in and hear the Mass. Of course, it was all in French, and it was beautiful, and just got to experience that also. So again, these are just some of the different memories that you can make up. We've got a lot of things that we offer, but certainly you can break off and do some different things on your own. This right here, going to the town of Macomb. This was a highlight for a number of reasons. I mean, this chateau was absolutely amazing that we see here on the top left and on the top right with this full moat. We got to go through several of the floors, the entire first and second floor of this property, and then we have plenty of free time to roam around the garden. I mean, this is just something that looks like quintessential French with the gardens, the chateau, the moat, the manicured lawns and things like that. Really beautiful place. And then there's also the Cluny Abbey, which you can join as well too on a separate tour. And then again, some free time if you're looking for that. By the way, I didn't mention the name of this chateau. This is the Chateau de Comartin that you can also join on one of our short tours. And then spending some time in Lyon. This is going to be one of the stops where you're going to wake up in the morning. You're in Lyon, you're going to either, depending on the itinerary, or you may arrive later that evening, then you're going to be there the full day, the next day overnighting. Lots to do in Lyon. You have the old medieval area with these, old, obviously really old medieval structures and some great restaurants, plenty of restaurants, a lot of great wine bars, some really cool shops to experience. There's also the Triboules. If you haven't heard of the Triboules, these are these, you see the lower center picture there. These old, they call them secret, like passageways. They're not quite secret anymore. You can tour these, but these are what a lot of the silk makers use, because Lyon was really known for making its silk. And depending on the weather, of course, if it was rainy, they used these to be able to safely transport their silk from their place where they're making them all the way down to the port where they can get them on board safely. So you can experience those. You have this really cool Ferris wheel looking over the I forget the name. I think it's called Bellecourt courtyard area there also. This is just a shot of it lit up at night. This happened to be looking out outside my hotel room. We'd stayed some extra nights here. And then on the top right picture, you also see the Cathedral Fauvier. So a beautiful cathedral, definitely worth a visit. If you like to challenge yourself and you want to do the steps, there's about 550 steps going up and those same 550 steps coming back down. But if you want to do it one way or the other, there's also funicular that'll take you up and down also. And the views from the top are magnificent. So this is immediately right over the old, more medieval side of Lyon. And on the other side of the river is where you're going to have the more modern side also. So some great restaurants, a bit more modern, of course, a lot of more newer shops, if you will, on the other side also. But a really fun town. And again, if you're into the culinary, this is where you want to go. I think it's safe to say that it rivals Paris when you're talking about the culinary experience. So definitely take some time to enjoy here. One last tip that I would mention on doing Lyon, and this itinerary in particular, I've been there a couple of times. Every time is beautiful to go, but if you go anytime, from like late spring all the way into probably the early part of fall, you're definitely going to run into some more crowds. If you can handle when the weather starts to cool off just a little bit later fall time, that's a really ideal time because you're not going to have as many crowds at that time also. So just want to share that. That's a look at our two main itineraries that we wanted to feature, but we've also got more, of course. We've got Normandy and the gems of the Seine River. So we're running we do have some 8-day, 7 nights, but this particular one that we're looking at here on the map is a total of 10 days, 9 nights. Something that's really cool to take note of is that our ships can pull all the way into the Port of Honfleur. That is not the case with every other river cruise line because our ships are much more intimate and smaller. We can travel all the way into port. So that's a really big plus. Tours, of course, going over to Normandy, lots of arts tours. You got a lot of the impressionists that, kind of spend some time in this area and some great seafood also that you're going to want to enjoy here. Some different combinations I mentioned earlier. There's a way to combine these. So I'm not going to spend, too much time on every slide. Forgive me, I'm just going to click through a little bit, but I just want you to see how you can combine some of these different itineraries. So we were just looking at Normandy and Gems of the Seine. So that was a 10-day, 9-night. You can combine that. We'll provide the transfers in between and take you over to enjoy the Bordeaux region for another 10-day, 9-night experience, 21 days in total. You can also combine that same Normandy and Gems of the Seine with spectacular south of France, doing Burgundy and Provence, which we just covered. There's also a chance to combine that same one on the Seine with the Douro River. So now taking in 2 countries, doing the Douro River on a 10-day, 9-night for 21-day total. Then you can combine some other rivers. Looking outside of the Seine, you can combine Bordeaux and the Rhone zone that we just, the 2 itineraries that we just looked at with our iconic France. We've also got beautiful Bordeaux and unforgettable Douro. So again, those are 2 closely located areas too. So not too much travel in between. 21-day trip to combine those 2. And then one more to look at. We have France and Douro Masterpiece. This one is a total of 31 days. So taking in the Seine River, taking in Bordeaux, and then going down to do the Douro River also. So we do have different savings when you do some back-to-back sailings also. So certainly keep that in mind. And then we do have something that we just started this year for next year. We introduced it this year for next year, and it's our Ultimate Journeys. This particular one that we're looking at is Ultimate France and Italy. And I'm not sure why they stuck with just France and Italy, because it does incorporate some other countries there also, but certainly France and Italy is where the highlights are. What's really unique and cool about this one is because we have a portfolio of products, we're not just river, we're not just ocean. So we have the two sides to choose from, and we have land that our company was started on. So we can combine all three of those for our guests, taking in river cruise, ocean cruise, and the land component also. So you're going to have a chance to board Scenic Eclipse, sail the northwestern part of Italy, in addition to Bordeaux, Rhone, Saône, Burgundy, Provence area, the Seine River. Then you're going to make your way over to doing the Rhine River, spend some time in Switzerland, ultimately ending up in Amsterdam. So those people that have maybe done world cruises that are looking for those really cool things to mark off on their list, this would be a great itinerary to suggest to them. We'd also like to ensure that you guys keep us in mind for group opportunities. We've got a really rich group program. So what does that look like? So it's a total of basically 5 staterooms, or more specifically 9 full paying passengers, because you might have some single guests traveling. So 9 full paying passengers, the 10th would be your tour conductor. You can double that, you can triple that. It's not until you get somewhere about pushing 40 to 45% of the entire ship inventory that we would then say, hey, maybe we want to look at doing a charter. But that's basically how this works. No deposit required. That's a really nice thing also. So just that good faith working together. If you're taking out group space, you're going to look to promote it. We'll help you out with different materials. We can put a flyer together for you. You can work with the local RSD to promote that virtually, in person. So a lot of ways that we want to ensure that you guys are being successful. Group amenity points. This really ranges. It's going to range also by different sailing dates and things, but it's going to include maybe gift of chocolates or a bottle of champagne. You could look at bonus commission. There could be a way to earn TCs a little bit sooner. You have our committed support, and then savings starts at $200 per person, and occasionally we'll do a double group member group benefit where that could be up to $400 savings per person, which we offered a couple times this year. There is also a CLIA bonus commission offer, so I wanted to be sure to include that, where you can earn a $100 bonus commission for your first new FIT booking on all open sailings when you book in 2024 too. So please be sure to take advantage of that. And then for that, you would basically just email to our sales.support@scenicusa.com, and we'll take note of that and make sure we get that applied for you properly. And then also, this is we're just announcing that, so you guys are at the very head of receiving this. We have our National Planet Cruise Month. So the booking window for this starts today and going through November 3rd. And you can enter for a chance to win a free FAM cruise for 2. So when we put our FAM cruise program together for next year, there's a chance to get complimentary access to that for 2. Also earn bonus commission in addition to a $25 gift card for each group quote that's requested. And for that, if you do want to take note of this, if you're thinking about a group, reach out to your local RSD, but you want to take note of the GQN PCM10 to take advantage of that. And then we have a number of different promotions, a number of things to stay on top of, a number of great resources. That's a travel advisor resource. I would recommend that you please scan this QR code, because everything that you're going to be able to access there is alive. What I mean by that is that it's anything that old promotions fall off, and then the new promotions are updated there, specific to each one of our brands, specific to each one of the different products. So you'll be able to have all the latest and greatest there. So anytime you're in the middle of doing a quote, definitely have a look at that to make sure you're taking advantage of all the latest offers. Or if you're booking something through ExpressBook, which is our booking engine, you can also make sure that you have the right codes and things to look for there also. Solo travelers, I didn't really mention that too, but we do offer solo traveler sailings where in some cases on select departures, there's not going to be any single supplement added to that. So that's going to be great for the solo travelers. Aside from that, typically we'll offer maybe up to a 45% single supplement, but it's not going to be that full extra person that your solo guests are going to be paying for. The other thing to note is that with Scenic, we do have on each of our Scenic ships a single stateroom that is dedicated to a solo traveler. So on Scenic specifically, it's going to be a veranda stateroom, but it's going to be a smaller sort of twin size stateroom if that's an option for your guest also. And then as we're rounding this the finish line here, We also have our amazing territory map right here too. So take a look at this. If you don't know who your local RSD is, just look at the map and where you're located, and that's who it's going to be. There might be some instances here and there that we're working to kind of fix at it, but it's, you know, if you're working with a consortium who's headquartered in a different state, there could be some crossover, but for the most part, you're going to be working with a local RSD in your specific area. And then, of course, we have our account executives who are joining us today, answering some questions that they've probably been answering already as I've been speaking so much. We have Margaret and we have Ian, and they both do an amazing, amazing job too. And I don't say that lightly. I work with a number of folks in the inside sales teams, and they absolutely stand out. But that kind of rounds everything out. So merci beaucoup, I would say, for having spent some time on the French waterways. And if we have time, I think there's probably a few minutes for any Q&A. Be happy to hear from anybody or field those questions that Ian and Margaret have been answering. Joanna or Ian or Margaret, not sure if you guys may have received any questions that we want to look at.
Hey, Richard, thank you so much for your
Sure.
time this afternoon. And no, Ian and Margaret have been doing great answering these questions. There was one question I think is good for the entire group. It's about the ADA compliance that Scenic Group offers to clients once they get on board or when they go off when you guys are docked. Could you speak
Yeah.
about scooters or how Scenic Group has made the cabins more accessible?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. And transparently, I have to kind of address it because the certainly just beginning with France in particular, or Europe in particular, going out on shore tours and things like that can certainly be challenged. So depending on the level of mobility for any particular guest, those things should be looked at in advance. In addition to the question of, is this person traveling with someone that's able, that can help them? There are certain things where we don't really prefer our crew to help. You know, if it requires like totally lifting somebody, those type of situations on board the ship. You know, getting through with a scooter is typically not a problem. The last departure that I was on, there was a woman who was on her scooter the majority of the time, and getting around was easy access through most parts of the ship. Certainly, the elevator helps you get up and down some of the decks, but it doesn't go all the way up to like the sun deck, for instance. So somebody else that, you know, relies more heavily on a scooter but can then do some walking, they would then get access to the sun deck. Wheelchairs, you know, again, it's something to kind of discuss with our res team. You know, depending on if they're like, you know, wheel bound or certain, you know, size of the wheelchair, things like that, because the rooms, and this is kind of getting the core of the question, I think, aren't necessarily like ADA you know, set up. There are some things that they can access, but maybe not everything. So long story short, it's good to have those very specific conversations with our res team as they relate to that specific guest.
Great. Thank you for sharing that information,
Sure.
Richard. Could you actually go back to the slide that had the QR code for those agents who may be new to Scenic and may want to get in touch with the sales team and use those travel advisor resources?
Yep, absolutely. So here we go. I think this is one you're looking for. So if you want to scan that, that should bring everything up that you need. And again, you really want to save that because again, there's just some really great live and updated information for the latest and greatest.
Great. And while we just take a few moments here just to let the attendees scan that QR code, I do want to pass along compliments from our attendees. They are saying the webinar was great, that you are a great presenter, and that it was very informative. And some of them are already saying that they will be on board with you all soon.
I love it. That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning, but if not, or either way, you know, please keep us in your consideration set. It's a great, great product that we're offering here. I mean, the testimonials, I can tell you firsthand, and I like to be really, really honest and transparent with things also. You know, the different river cruises I've done, Scenic absolutely stands out with the all-inclusiveness, with the no hassle type thing. You know, we always say it's not about how much you pay to get on, but how much you pay to get off type thing. The short tour programs are amazing. The culinary experience, like no other. I haven't experienced any sort of river cruise sailing that offers this in-depth, amazing culinary experience. And I could go on and on, but again, thank you so much, and please keep us in mind, and keep us in mind for some groups also, even if it's just a spec group that your office can sell into. Put it out there. There's really no risk, so I would really encourage you to reach out to me or to your local RSD for that.
Great. And Richard, we do have one question here just regarding the FAM tour, if there was a QR code or a website that they had to go to for that.
We don't have our FAMs listed yet for next year, so that's not available yet. We are, however, going to be at the Asta River convention next year in Vienna. So my understanding is that through that process, by registering through Asta, you can apply for different FAM opportunities, and we will have a FAM opportunity for both Scenic and Emerald in Vienna next year for the Asta event. The latter part of the year, we haven't made that determination yet, but there may be an opportunity for one later in the year in fall. And this is not a guarantee, but there are possible opportunities where more of a on the fly type moment, if you will, if we have a few departures that aren't filling up, that sometimes we may look to offer those as a TA rate and FAM opportunities also. But otherwise, we do have some basic information on our travel advisor site online on our website.
Great. And for those who may not be able to access the QR code, what is the Scenic Group's, I guess, URL that they can just type in?
Ooh, thank you. We'll have to send that in the follow-up if that's okay, but we can definitely provide that to you.
Oh, it looks like Ian actually answered here. So for those of you who don't have it, it's www.scenicusa.com/travel-advisor-hub. Okay, and I will put that in the general chat for all of our attendees to access so that they can make sure that they are signed up for the travel agent portal with you guys. And we do have a couple more minutes here, Richard, if you want to just leave our attendees with any lasting words or lasting thoughts to carry on with their conversations with their clients about Scenic Group.
Yeah, I would. I will. I'll give a couple of other tips too. Thanks for that opportunity. There's our online site, our website has some great information, some great content. Again, I like to be transparent. There might be some things in there that aren't as easily found that you like to find. So if you run into any issues, again, check with us. But if you're just learning to go a little bit deeper, learn a little bit more on the product, I know we've only spoken to the River Cruise side, but if you want to look at some of the other things, look at our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel for Scenic Luxury Cruises and Tours on YouTube and Emerald Cruises on YouTube have some great videos, some short little clips. So if you're looking to send a follow-up, even right after this presentation, hey, we just done a great presentation, just want to send a short little video, thinking of your next trip, grab some of those things, share them with your clients. The other thing that I would mention too, we didn't talk about Scenic Eclipse too much, briefly at the very beginning, but if you have clients that are interested in doing, more of an expedition type experience or just a really, really unique elevated experience, those Silver Sea type guests that want something just a little bit different, take a look at our this great docu-series that we put together with Maritime Masters. You'll easily find it when you go to Scenic Luxury Cruises and Tours. It's a 9-part series. I kind of stumbled upon it when I joined the team, just about, he's coming up on not even quite 10 months yet. And I learned a lot of information from that too. Enjoyed it so much. It was a 9-part series that as I started to watch the second segment, I told my wife, I said, I think you're just going to enjoy watching this. It's just cool. So we watched the whole series together. But I would encourage you to look at that also. And I think that's a good final note maybe to end on. What I didn't, there is one more. My apologies.
Yeah,
I know
go
I
ahead.
mentioned here, it's resting up here on the slide too, but the time to travel, take advantage of that too. Because that is going to be available to you guys again starting today. So you have 21 days for that to be available, and it's just an extra thing that's combinable again with all the other offers that we've discussed.
And Richard, on behalf of CLIA and our attendees, this thank you also goes to Margaret and Ian for being so attentive to all the questions that were coming in throughout the presentation. But again, excellent presentation. Thank you for sharing all the information about Scenic Group. And I'm sure you're going to see a lot of our agents reaching out to you guys and hopefully booking lots of sailings with you all. So again, thank you. And we hope to see you all on the next one.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Ina Margaret, also. Guys, have a good day, everybody.
Take care.